Now it's my very great pleasure to welcome back Dr. Dania Thafer, who will lead the conversation with His Excellency Mahmood Al-Aweini, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Finance of the Sultanate of Oman. Dr. Thafer, Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a distinct pleasure to be here and to welcome His Excellency today. There's so much to talk about when it comes to Oman and its reform. Another wonderful story from the region. We were just talking about Syria and its resilience, and now we're going to talk about Oman and its economic reform. Under the visionary leadership of His Majesty Sultan Haytham, Oman has launched one of the most ambitious and far-reaching reform initiatives. And the story is amazing this last 5 years. Oman has shown fiscal discipline, institutional modernization, and economic diversification that's quite impressive in the span of 5 years. The Sultanate has cut public debt nearly in half, achieved budget surpluses, and restored investor confidence with decisive fiscal management. Quite impressive, actually, and we're very proud to see that in Oman. Sweeping administrative reforms have streamlined government operations and also strengthened accountability in Oman across various institutions. Even there was the passing of important social protection laws that empowered Omanis and their economy. So it's just amazing to witness all of this that's happening in Oman. I really think that the Ministry of Finance has been instrumental, and His Excellency and your leadership, along with the Minister of Finance, have really moved Oman forward. And we're so delighted to have this conversation at this important time. So you're welcome, Your Excellency. First, if you don't mind, I'll start with a question. Or is there something you'd like to say before I start?
No, please go
Okay,
ahead.
or you want me to go right into it? So we know Oman has the 2040 vision that's coming up with a bold agenda. You're diversifying the economy in new areas such as tourism, logistics, and green energy. I actually tried to go to Salalah this summer. I couldn't find a place. I was very disappointed because I was trying to escape the desert heat in the Gulf to go to Salalah, but it didn't happen because there's so much tourism now in Oman, which is quite impressive. I wanted to ask, how is the Ministry of Finance aligning its fiscal policy and public expenditure with the vision's strategic goals? Particularly when it comes to economic diversification, private sector empowerment, and innovation-driven growth.
Okay. First of all, thank you, Doctor, for this hospitality, and it's my pleasure as well to speak in front of this esteemed guests. Oman journey started, as you truly said, seriously in 2020. Where we set up a very clear midterm fiscal plan after certain number of challenges, which followed a number of years drop in oil prices, as well as this efficiency, I would call it, in managing the overall financial aspects of the physical space in general. And that plan was, I would call it, very disciplined in terms of correcting the situation in general, as well as it was tough, I would call it, in some aspects, but as well covering very important risk aspects on the other side. All of this plan in general, which we'll talk probably on the following questions as well in more details about, was driven by the thoughts and thinking of the Oman Vision 2040. So all aspects of that was linked with an element of targets that Oman Vision 2040 has to achieve. Specifically, we talk about improving quality of life for citizens, providing security assurance, security protection for some groups, enhancing the business environment to be able to attract foreign investments as well as retrieving the local investments, in addition to creating a full sustainable pathway approach for the physical space, which was the essential because the government over years was the main player in the economy at that stage. So all of that was linked again to the key objectives of Oman Vision 2040 and was set up with a number of initiatives in the midterm physical plan to be achieved and followed up by Oman Vision 2040 in terms of performance reporting and targets in general. That plan was as well integrated with international KPIs, which again Oman Vision 2040 was looking for, and tested and supported by number of technical consultancies by IMF, World Bank, and other consultants which supported us throughout that journey.
Wonderful. It is quite a journey to see especially the fiscal discipline in Oman is tremendous. Even if you compare it regionally speaking, this is, I think, a huge accomplishment for Oman and an example for also other countries to look at. So I wanted to segue a little bit into digital transformation, fintech, and AI. As Oman advances its digital transformation agenda, how is the ministry integrating fintech, AI into public finance and your overall strategy?
Yeah, I think digital transformation was part of that plan. It was an essential element, honestly speaking, to achieve what we were looking for. It was not only good to have, it was must to have, honestly, to achieve our KPIs. And starting from Ministry of Finance, we moved ahead into more advanced technical aspects to enhance our ability to manage the public physical space, including debt management or going for a more advanced ERP system for the government to enhance it. But that was only a proportion of what was happening overall in the government of Oman. So they were another program driven from Oman Vision 2040 with very clear KPIs to digitalize the whole of the government, as well as create aspects of efficiency within the daily activities that touch base on citizen lives, as well as important for the investors to be convinced that this is the right environments and business environments in one aspect. If I talk specifically about fintech, Central Bank of Oman with FSA, Financial Services Authority, work hard to initiate and establish the platforms, the regulatory platforms, to attract international investments as well as local players, SMEs and others into the fintech. And this was very essential elements on the ecosystem because it supports our key financial sector, which tend to be stable, healthy over times, even at the worst stages of the crisis. The banking system used to be very stable, risk was managed very well over time, but that fintech elements was very critical and important for this sector to be enhanced. And this is as well reflected on the capital market, where we have very minimal contribution from that specific sector into the overall financing options or the reflection on the economy. And fintech was very critical element to resolve a lot of issues on the sector. And now we can see kind of results of growth and on these market capitalizations in the market, opportunities offered for funding from the markets, and all of that driven through fintech mainly. One of the good things that we are aiming for now is to have one-stop shop for all fintech applications to be licensed by any parties, either central bank, FSA, or any other parties, to make it easier for the players in the fintech side and to accelerate as well the enhancement of that sector itself within the country before they think even outside Oman.
And yes, the development of fintech is fascinating over the course of the years and technology. And I know that even in some cases, Gulf states like Oman can be more advanced when it comes to the engagement of these kind of technologies. So I want to shift the conversation a little bit to talk about foreign investments and public-private partnerships, if I may. Attracting foreign direct investment is a key pillar of Oman's diversification strategy, and of course, any nation is very interested in achieving that. What initiatives is the Finance Ministry pursuing to enhance the investment climate in Oman and also strengthen public-private partnerships?
Well, investments was a very critical element for the growth factor that we anticipated in the plan. And as I said again, it was one important element in Oman Vision 2040 is to attract foreign investment. So the first initiative started on this aspect was to improve the regulatory platforms that matters for investors. And there were a number of reviews for a lot of regulations in different entities all together to integrate that efforts with a kind of results that give assurance for the investors overall. The second part of it was mainly to improve business environments, and that was probably one of the key aspects that limit us in the previous years to be able to attract investment. So the government established a one-stop shop called Invest in Oman Center, where investors can be contacted and have very specific and dynamic account managers who facilitate, provide information, as well as support them to be established in a period of time that is acceptable by the investors, either licensing or other facilities. In addition, Oman has well shaped or established a negotiation team with number of key decision makers from the government side, where they negotiate and look at the projects that is interested in Oman on a specific basis, apply certain matrices and try to understand what incentives investors are looking for and get the licensing and provide the permits from one table and as I said. So that make a kind of difference. We start to be people more interested in discovering Oman and the opportunities in Oman. In addition, certainly to promote some of these opportunities to key partners or some of the neighbor countries or some of the friend countries that have already an interest or already tested Oman in general. Our main focus was mainly to diversify this from oil and gas because we were attractive anyway in oil and gas sector from the beginning. So we established kind of promotion schemes for industries, innovative industries, logistics projects, mining, fintech and technologies in general. All of that was the main focus of the new phase, and we have seen that reflection on our budget. In fact, the growth of in the non-hydrocarbon sector in the government revenue itself enhanced by a much higher percentage. It was above 9% on average over the last 4 years compared to 3 to 4% on the hydrocarbon sector. So that gives us an indication that we are at the right track. Still the efforts are continuing. And we are studying specifically key list of incentives that can be provided not per sector but per project, depend on the feasibility of the projects and how effectively as well they will add in terms of value for Oman. We have already number of free zones, the regulation for the free zones updated. These free zones have been already given a lot of incentives from the beginning. It was how to really attract the right player and provide the gaps or close the gaps that they feel if they come to these free zones. So all of that was happening over the last 4 years. We think we already passed very bottlenecks in that area, and now we are aiming for more expansion on the non-hydrocarbon sectors specifically to make sure that we are moving at the right track.
So if I understand you correctly, you just said that diversification growth has doubled in recent years. That's quite impressive. And I think something interesting that comes up in discussions here in the United States is the Duqm port, which I know Oman has developed tremendously over the course of the last couple of years. I am going to go ahead and, because I know Your Excellency, you don't have a lot of time, so I wanted to ask you a little bit about fiscal consolidation. So Oman's medium-term fiscal plan has been really instrumental in restoring and establishing macroeconomic stability in Oman and reducing public debt. How has this fiscal discipline created a new space for strategic investments that are aligned with your Vision 2040? And what lessons might the GCC in general draw from Oman's experience?
Perfect. Well, I think when we start thinking about the midterm fiscal plan, it was a must. It was not a luxury or change that we are just trying to drive. We started the plan where we have a multi-years deficits, very low oil prices anyway, which was the main source of revenue on the government. Public debt was above 70% on GDP, so that was not a healthy sign at all. The reserve was depleted over years as well, the foreign reserve. In addition to having budget equilibrium price was above $80 per barrel at that time specifically. So all of that give us an indication that we have to do a proper correction. And when we think about the correction, it should not be a temporary measures. It has to be a full plan, multi-year plans that have a kind of clear KPIs to be achieved and at the same time are implementable on the ground. So we worked that on. We managed in 3 years to achieve an 8-year targets. So end of 2024, we managed to reduce debt to be 34% over GDP. We managed to bring the equilibrium of the budget to $64 to $66 per barrel. That was itself a big achievement, but all of this happens with introducing a new security or safety nets for those categories that could impacted of any measures happens. So they were an additional spend on certain areas, but they were another revenue. We managed to concentrate and focus our spend and be very effective in spending our money in operating and capital cost over 3 years. And we managed in 4 years effectively to develop projects with 12 billion Omani Riyal of budget compared to 15 at that time. So it's efficiency mainly, but it was as well a discipline going on into that aspect. Certainly went through a lot of lesson learned. We had to take a very tough decision at very uncertain stages. For example, we introduced VAT at the middle of COVID, and all consultants was telling us inflation will shoot up to 12. We tried our best to manage that aspects of inflation. We look at all aspects of risk, and we managed to introduce a successful project of VAT in a very tough time, while still controlling the inflation. Inflation was never above 2% in Oman, so now it's around 1% overall because of a lot of control measures. So a tough decision has to be taken from one aspect. It has to be a long-term plan. It's not something that you try this year and once you get oil prices up again, then you get relax and do whatever you think is used to do over the past on the specific spending matters. I think the biggest important lesson learned is to be disciplined in expenditure and revenue targets. I think this is very important when it comes to Ministry of Finance. and it will never be achieved unless there is a full integration in the ecosystem itself with the decision makers to achieve the targets. So integration, alignment, cooperation internally within the government is very important to achieve the targets, specifically if you are at a tough period of time. So all of that happens in 4 years' time. We are continuing the right and good work on this, but as well we are enhancing our opportunities in securing the economic growth in one aspect, getting diversified economy on another aspect, as well as moving into more ambitious targets when it comes to attracting foreign investments, as well as maintaining the local investments. So all of that happens in 4 years. We have seen a lot of good KPIs. Certainly a lot of international organizations, as I said, like World Bank, IMF, some other consultants, the internal government entities were supporting Ministry of Finance on this journey, but we had to take serious decision and continue to be disciplined over a multi-period of time. And after that, we managed to certainly get surplus on continuously 3 years, 22 until 24, all with surplus budget, while we are still moving ahead, maintaining our capital projects for the nation, providing a safety, security for categories that will need support and help, subsidizing some of the services. Still, we managed to do that over that years, just to protect these groups. So all of that happens in 4 to 5 years' time, which we are really all proud. And I think a lot of partners were supporting us over that journey.
And you mentioned about, first I'm impressed about the inflation, because everywhere I go, inflation's out of control, whether it be in the US and the Gulf. And you mentioned about social safety nets that were implemented while these changes are happening. Could you elaborate a little bit about what that entailed?
Well, we studied again the impact of the measures that we took on the fiscal space, either by introducing more taxation or having kind of lower spend specifically from the government on certain projects. And we end up that there are certain groups has to be protected in one way or another. And we utilize international studies from ILO, from IMF as well, to look at how this happening, how is this happening as well through benchmarks globally. And we come out with a plan that protect number of parties. So each kids below 18 years old in Oman now has a kind of financial support directly to their accounts. Everyone above 60 years old now, they have as well a kind of protection the government is supporting. There are certain groups are on the list already. Some of them have been getting some kind of benefits from that safety nets. Start to be universal way of thinking of distributing this protection on one aspect, as well as focusing on specific groups on the other aspects. Certainly this put more heads on the government physical space itself, but was planned for from the beginning. So a lot of initiatives and efficiencies that we managed to achieve over years was reflected and directed to these kind of budgets. So we balanced the equilibrium that we were trying to achieve.
And we would be remiss, I mean, you're talking about social safety nets and whatnot, but also talking a little bit about incentive structures that allow for Omanization, which is the term used for the nationalization of the workforce, used in all the Gulf states: Qatarization, Kuwaitization, Omanization. You know, Omanization remains a cornerstone of the 2040 vision. And how's the Ministry of Finance coordinating with government entities to create sustainable employment opportunities, especially as you know right now, the Gulf is facing a period with a high distribution of the demographics are in the youth and in the working age. So this is a really important period for economic productivity. And if you could talk to us a little bit about that, that would be great.
Good. Overall, I think we have not only Omanization targets, it's a full local content targets that Oman is focusing on. And this is mainly not because you just want to enforce it, it's good for businesses as well. Still, investments, new flying investments are protected sometimes based on the negotiation with the government to allow them to establish their facilities and get into the growth stage. So these are not blockers by any means for any investments to fly in. Second, our main target is to move into the new sectors where we talk about industries, innovative industries, we talk about alternative energies, we talk about technology and tourism and logistics. A lot of these will require kind of skilled employments overall, and we have a lot of talented Omanis, male and females, who are already in the market, and they will need kind of support in terms of upgrading their skills to be more specialized on these new sectors. This is our thinking currently on moving ahead for that direction. The government took a very serious decision that the private sector has to play their role on the employment because this is the only way to be sustainable, but they will need certainly kind of support how to integrate it. So a lot of decision from Ministry of Labor have been taken is to reorganize the labor market mainly in the private sector because it has to be advanced at the following stage, just to serve these key objectives that we are now looking for. The opportunity is there. We think in the last 5 years, if the numbers talks, we issued more than 2 million work permits, new work permits. These are in 5 years' time. If we exclude 30% of them for the low skills worker, it means there are more than 60 to 70% of this number on a country with a population of 5 million only. The economy has created these kind of jobs based on the growth. A lot of them are non-hydrocarbon. So we know there is a huge increase in the opportunity that the Omani economy is offering, and we are trying now to place the Omanis within the skilled Omanis within that growth stage, which will impact no one. Probably it will create a lot of opportunities for investments, for new projects, and for the newcomers. And as I said always, I think we are in the middle of area where we have very good access to talents, either from Oman itself, from the Gulf, or from Indian sub-ocean countries overall. So we have very close access, which could be considered reasonable in terms of cost. Again, I think the perception was number of these regulations were limiting investments. It was not really true. It was designed to restructure the policy to support the private sector and reorganize. Any serious investors coming to Oman will not find this really a challenge, and a lot of flexibility and incentives have been offered and privatized in terms of local support. And one maybe very basic example that Ministry of Finance with Ministry of Labor is doing is the training that end up with employment. So the government spend money on those talents who need to be upgraded in any technical skills required by the private sector for 1 year or 2 years. Sometimes they compensate as well their salaries during that period, and they become ready for being in the market, which end up really utilized by these international players, not only in Oman, some of them really taken outside Oman to do their job. So these are kind of examples of the initiatives that we have done overall.
That's quite impressive. And so I think I'm going to open it up now for 1 or 2 questions from the audience, and then we'll have to close because His Excellency is quite busy. I see Justin is like ready to raise his hand. Or okay, Justin, and if you would like, okay, we'll take 3 questions back to back, but we're limited on time. So Justin, the lady behind him, and this gentleman here, please. Yeah, you have the microphone, okay.
Thank you. Sorry to ask another question. Your Excellency, Dania explained and you discussed how successful Oman has been in fiscal consolidation in the last 5 years. And we've seen the results on that, you know, with the improvement in your rating and the very low spread you issued us with last week. A decision was taken to focus on the fiscal balance and using the surplus to pay down debt. And I've had discussions with Omani friends who've said they wish a bit more was spent on capital expenditure. And there's even a line in the budget, I think it's about 500 million rial for projects for developmental impact, which I don't think has been drawn on. How do you balance that going forward? Do you feel you have space now to invest more in CapEx? How do you balance those two priorities? Thank you.
We're going to take them back to back, so to save time.
Hello, my name is Halil Azzi. I know that in the recent years, Oman has opened up work permits in lower skilled work or roles only for Omanis to encourage greater workforce participation. In the ministry's effort and the government's effort to increase high-skilled Omanis taking higher-skilled roles, are there initiatives that have been done in that way? And my second question is related to earlier in this conference, a panelist had mentioned that Oman is looking to diversify because it will be running out of hydrocarbons within the next decade. Is this a legitimate concern for Oman or not?
Okay, one last question, if we can get the microphone up here.
Thank you. Actually, very quick question and a very quicker second question. The first one is, what's the percentage of completion of Oman 2040 vision right now? And the second question would be, what do you want from the American administration? What is your national priority that if President Trump was listening to you right now, what do you want? Thank you.
Interesting question. Okay, so Your Excellency, we would like you to respond to the three questions.
Well, I think the answer of the first question is the fiscal rules. We are introducing in our new 5 years plans, economic development plan, which will start in 26 until 30, a very clear fiscal rules, which depends not only on debt repayments, it depends on creating buffers as well for the government through higher reserve. And higher reserve mean for us more investments or more funds allocated for our investments arm, Oman Investment Authority and others, more reserve within Central Bank of Oman, more reserve into our oil and gas production arms, which enhance the spend. All of this has to go into a very equilibrium formula that will work in. This year, honestly speaking, we enhanced the capital investments. We had number of social projects which were delayed for 10 years. We want to close, we want to complete. We put more pressure. We increase the spend on the social aspects. We want to give more scholarships. We want to enhance these benefits for those who are seeking jobs and train them. So we did a lot of this within the range, within the acceptable range we specify at the beginning. So we know this is very critical and it has to happen. We are very ambitious with the next 5 years development plan, which we think it will prove that growth with these limited resources still are possible, and we are working on that currently. Second question about the high skills worker. I think a lot of Omani now are graduates, so they have minimum of bachelor, minimum of diploma. We have as well introduced the occupational studies. We increase as well specialized programs for scholarships in certain areas. All of this now we are trying to do with the private sector engagement. We think the government cannot play that role alone. We have to test the labor market. We have to test the need of the private sector itself. So whenever we invest on these talents, we find the right place for them as well to be injected in the production cycle. So this is happening. I'm very proud, honestly speaking, with the number of initiatives, the regulations as well that have been updated only to support all of that so far, and we continue to do so. I think this is an important element that the nation is looking for, and as well we are committed to deliver. If we talk about diversification, we are not doing diversification because we will run out of oil. I think it's a risk that is happening around us in the region, probably beyond that. However, we think we have the capacity and the opportunity to enhance the alternative energy production. And maybe the team, Mohsen and the team, in the next session will talk about this more. Oman is blessed with very unique, probably, aspects that enable them to be the best hydrogen production facility if it happens in terms of technology, using alternative energy to introduce electricity and power. And now we are connected to the whole Gulf grid, where we most of the time export energy. We want to be a green energy hub as well for the industries. So by that we will be able to attract industries into Ad-Duqm or Suhar or Salalah. We are as well blessed with a very unique logistical place where we have a full infrastructure with very advanced facilities, ports and airports and others. So, and the trains now with the Gulf, other Gulf states, is an additional thing on that. So all of that is happening at the same time, not because we are shrinking. In fact, we are increasing our production of oil and gas. We are trying to increase our buffer on this. We are being more efficient in even utilizing new technology to be lower in terms of cost of barrel. Two final questions, where we are from our targets on 2040. I think we achieve a lot of our targets, especially those linked to the international KPIs. So environmental, for example, we jump from 140 position in the international environmental KPIs. Now we are in the 50s. We achieve number of that in the credit rating, for example, and quality of life, sustainable approach, improvement in the health and the education. A lot of improvements happen. Are they as per our ambition? No. We are trying to accelerate all of these, and that's why they were very clear accelerating programs on all of these aspects. Digitalization was a very good example of that. So we managed to achieve a very good proportion of the targets that we are looking for, and this is with full transparency are offered for all to read where we are in the KPIs. What I need from President Trump?
This is the one we're waiting for.
Yeah, probably to win the Peace Nobel Prize. I think the world is in a sensitive age. Free trades between countries are very important. Security and safety and peace is important for investors to take their right decisions. Very important to have this atmosphere to enhance the global growth. We benefit honestly from global growth of the economy, either within the Middle East region or within our partners, US, UK, India, China, all others. We are friends of all countries, honestly. When it comes to investment decision, it requires kind of stability and removing uncertainty. And this is what we are looking for. So if there's more stable words, very clear rules of games, very clear as well expansion atmosphere that is giving security and confidence for the investor to take the right decision, that is in our favor. And this is what we think US can really play a major role on that overall.
Well, on that note, Your Excellency, thank you so much for your time and your efforts to come with us today in your very busy schedule. And we're very pleased to have you. Actually, we have a small token of appreciation for you coming. And I'm sure you're very familiar with this. This is a dhow, which is an important symbol for Gulf economic history. And even Oman, which was a top country, historically speaking, in trade and engagement for a very long time. And actually, a fact is, Oman is the first Gulf country to engage the US and actually have a trade agreement with the US, which nobody ever recognized. Everyone always goes back to the Quincy meeting with Saudi and the US, which was a very important meeting as well. But Oman was the first one to trade with the US. So here you go, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.